everybody, this is Team 1. Today we're going to present climate change. And this presentation is prepared by David Jing, Asumi Homa, Nick Koya. So we have 3 members in the team, and today we're going to talk about this topic. So what is happening? So what exactly is the problem? So the problem is that right now the climate is changing and the temperature on Earth is rising, and that is due to the release of greenhouse gases. So as you can see from the chart on the right, that we see if we look at back about 150 years, we see that in the recent 50 years, the average temperature on Earth is actually rising. You can see the red lines actually is trending upwards, and so we are having problem. So what are the top sectors that contributing to the global warming here? So the first one, of course, is the transportation. We have so many cars running in the city, in the world, that release greenhouse gases. So the second, of course, is industry. And then along with that, we have other sectors as well. And then why is this important? Climate change is very important because it impacts everybody, including the animals on Earth, including the human beings. We see that because of the climate change, animal extinction are increasing. We see that turtles are dying, right? We see that the rainfalls are changing in certain areas. We see more storm and wild weather, and then in other areas, the water or the air quality, suffers, right? So we see more volcano eruption, right? So that is for those kind of things, we do see that because of the climate change. And then what are the solutions, right? So from the news, from all the TVs, we know that there's a lot of solutions, possible solutions. There's no one solution, and we found that 3 of them are actually we want to talk about it. We did some research online, and we found that these 3 topics are the solution. May reduce the greenhouse gases. So first one is use of reusable energy, right? The second one is using electric vehicles, and third one is plastic recycling. And so talking about solution 1, right? You use reusable energy. So reusable energy, what is the reusable energy? So basically they're energy collected from the reusable sources. For example, like solar energy, right? Solar energy, we basically use the solar panels to get the energy from the sun. And so that generates electricity, and we can use that. And of course, we can use the heat from the Earth, inside of the Earth, to get geothermal energies, right? We also have wind energy, biomass from plants, and hydropowers. Those are some examples of the reusable energies. And of course, in the United States, we really rely on the traditional energy like oil. So a lot of industry right now is focusing on using the reusable energies. For example, like wind energy. I think right now I'm getting the number is like about more than 10% of the energy that we use in the United States that actually generate from wind energy. So that's the one of the energy that's very popular here. So if you look at the use of reusable energy here, like what I said, right? Only 12% of the total U.S. energy are reusable, but 10% of them is actually from are actually the wind energy, right? Um, so basically, as you can see the chart from your right hand side here, right? So basically, you can see that the natural gas is actually, we use a lot of that, but that doesn't consider as reusable uh, energy, right? So if we look at the coal, it declined, and if you look at nuclear power, it's about the same, but like hydropower is still constant. It's not like increasing or decreasing. So what does this chart tell us? Basically, is that it tells us we're now using the reusable energies. So even though the current administration, the Biden administration says that we're going to use the reusable energy, but from the chart we see here, right? We don't see that. Hopefully, we're looking to get this, chart to see that the reusable energy actually increases. But it seems like that's not the case right now. So we do have a question here for you. So the question is, what would the government do to help the company US to use more reusable energy? Do you think the government should give money to the company who are using the reusable energy? What are some of the policies that you think that should be in use in the current administration that the government need to do? So that's basically is the question. Hopefully I make myself clear there. But yeah. So yep.
The second solution to climate change would be electric vehicles. About 6.75 million electric vehicles were sold around the world in 2021, and an estimate of 9.1 million are expected to be sold in 2022. Compared to 2020, that is a 108% increase in the purchase of electric vehicles. EVs are responsible for considerably lower emissions over their lifetime than conventional cars across the world as a whole. In 2011, 16,000 EVs were registered in North America. A decade later, and that number is now in excess of 2 million. In 2021, 735,000 EVs were sold, a significant jump from the 375,000 units that were sold in 2020. Europe is the world's second largest electric vehicle market, with 2.3 units sold in 2021, up from 1.4 million in 2020. These were around 5.5 EVs on European roads in 2021, consisting of 2.9 all-electric passenger cars, 2.5 million PHEVs, and about 147,000 light commercial all-electric cars. In France alone, 786,274 EVs have been registered since 2010. Over their lifetime, EVs emit fewer climate change-causing emissions than their gasoline-powered counterparts, even when factoring in the mining and the battery production at the start of their life cycle. In fact, EVs make up for any upfront emissions within 6 to 16 months of use. Electric vehicles are not just cleaner today, their emissions actually go down over time as our electric grid becomes cleaner. Both here in Minnesota and across the country, as you can see in the graph. EV lifecycle emissions will only continue to drop, both in operation and production, as battery and EV manufacturers and EV drivers use more and more electricity that is by renewable energy. A recent study by the International Council on Clean Transportation found that EVs currently registered in the US already emit 60 to 68% fewer GHGs than comparable gasoline cars. Opportunities for customers to charge their vehicles overnight at off-peak hours are also increasing. For example, Xcel Energy launched its Accelerate at Home program that provides EV owners with access to level 2 charging at home, allowing them to enjoy cheaper electricity rates overnight when wind energy tends to be the most abundant. Over their lifetime, EVs emit fewer climate change. Electric vehicles are facing a lot of barriers. For instance, batteries for EVs need rare metals. The batteries for electric cars use a lot of lithium, the lightest metal and the lightest solid element under normal conditions. It has been suggested that we will struggle to create large numbers of electric cars in Europe, to be specific, in the near term, simply because we don't have sufficient access to sources of lithium to make the batteries, and we don't have the factories to make them. Another example is longer driving distances are not obtainable for EVs compared to conventional cars. Although battery technology is improving all the time, this is a fact of the moment. The best electric cars now have ranges of around 300 miles per charge, but many have a range of just 100 miles or less between charges, which means they are much more suited for uses in cities and on short local journeys rather than a long distance drive. And to recharge them, they need at least half an hour of charging. The last possible barrier is that EVs can be expensive to buy. Servicing of electric cars tends to be cheaper as there are very few moving parts and no filters or oil to change. The most expensive part of an electric car is its battery, which tends to be highly reliable and is covered by a long warranty or can be leased for manufacturers. So, looking at long term ownership rather than initial purchase price, electric cars can actually be cheaper than their petrol or diesel counterparts. My discussion questions are: what should the government do to help the companies in the US use more renewable energies? And for electric vehicles, do you think EVs will take over the motor industry in entirety in the near future?
This technology in terms of plastic recycling. When most people toss a plastic bottle or cup into the recycle bin, they assume that means the plastic is recycled. But a new report lays bare how rarely that actually happens. Unfortunately, only 9% of plastic waste is recycled in the world, while 22% is mismanaged. In 2022, plastic recycling rate of the United States drops to close to 5% because some countries stopped accepting US waste exports, which had counted as recycled plastic, and also because plastic waste generation surged to new heights. Currently, the mainstream of plastic recycling is that each country must take responsibility for managing its own plastic waste. So I will introduce the latest and interesting technology about plastic recycling. In conventional process, only clear plastic can be recycled in closed loops with a loss of quality in each cycle, making it difficult to obtain new products from 100% recycled PET. Thus, complex and solid plastics are very difficult or impossible to recycle. But in 2016, Japanese scientists discovered that a species of bacteria was eating its way through plastics. Normally, bacteria spend their time absorbing dead organic matter, but Ideonella staccaensis has developed a taste for a certain type of plastic called PET. After analyzing the bacteria, the scientists found that it produced two digestive enzymes called hydrolyzing PET or PETase. However, scientists cautioned that we would be still years away from widespread commercial use at the moment. But recently, Cavios, which is a startup in France, is paid more attention. They have been trying to commercialize this eating bacteria technology. Unlike conventional recycling technology, this biorecycling can be used repeatedly without losing quality. Transparent new plastic bottles made in this way Even if the ingredients are a mixture of used clothes or dirty food trays, will look and perform the same as those made from petroleum. And the final product will have the same quality as the petrochemical material PET. This company is also building the first demonstration plant for this recycling technology. The technology will be licensed to PET resin manufacturers and will be incorporated into existing plants that produce plastic from petroleum. Here is the summary of our presentation. We brought up climate change as our topic and introduced 3 solutions and the latest news for each of them. Thank you for listening.